This episode of Important If True is brought to you by Quip. Convenient, well-designed electric toothbrushes sent to your home with brush head refills every 3 months. And if you go to tryquip.com/thumbs, you can get $10 off your first brush head refill. That's tryquip.com/thumbs. What are we starting with?
Drunk hobo, Chris Ramo. What are we starting with? We're starting with
shot the beer.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Remember when we used to start a timer when it was time to start the podcast?
I got my finger.
Remember
right
when Passive Aggressive Shithead was here?
I do.
It was
I hope you like
recently.
podcasts full of passive aggressive shitheads. You're in one. It's July 20th, 2017.
And this is Important If True.
Wow. From Idle Thumbs, I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Mick Brecken.
And I'm Jake Rodkin. Hey, guys.
Hey!
On loan from NPR.
Yeah.
From All Things Considered or whatever.
All Things Considered is actually, I guess, the NPR title of Important If True.
That's true.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
They consider them. We just declare they're all
right.
true.
Because we know anything in this world.
What I know in this world was thrown into stupid relief the other day. Early in the run of this podcast, I with certain recommendations, like most notably shoehorns and that sort of domestic bullshit, I quickly gained a reputation for being an old man, the old man of this podcast.
Yes.
And I had an experience the other day that that sort of like wrenched that out of my podcast life into sort of my day-to-day interaction with the world in a strange way. So one of the things that I sort of spend a lot of mental energy on is
thinking about how kids are screwing up the world.
Yeah, well, it's okay. The
How
kids
things
don't
used to
need
be
our
better back in the day.
Yeah. So one of the things I like sort of hobbies I have, I guess, is like miles and points collecting for travel.
Which is totally not throwing any like more wood onto the fire.
Whatever. So I spent a lot of time like paying attention to ways to get like cheap flights and to get free travel and things like that. And one of the sort of stranger methods to it that is used in that community, shall we say, is that the AARP, the American Association of Retired Persons or People or whatever, they have a discount deal with British Airways. So if you're an AARP member, you buy airfare through British Airways, you can get a discount that ranges from like, I don't know, $35 to $200 depending on what class of service you buy. So it's just this sort of discount you can get. And an AARP membership is only like $11 a year or something. As it turns out, they don't actually check your age. Like if you buy a ticket on British Airways with the AARP discount, there's no point like in the checkout process or when you get on the airplane where they
when you join the AARP.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
that's
So
also
you're just sort of sailing over the
first
fact
gate
that you're an
is,
AARP member.
Yeah, so I have a 3-year prepaid membership to the AARP, so that I can get discounts on British Airways flights, which is I mean it works. It's just a thing you can do.
You can send in your proof of age or proof of shoehorn.
Right. Yeah.
Send in one Amazon receipt for your most recent 5 purchases. Okay, just let this guy in. Just let him
They have a
in.
very liberal attitude to.
He got those kitchen
requirements.
jars, got that shoehorn.
Yeah. And so that is something that I signed up for like a year and a half ago at this point. I've had that for a while. But one of the things that happens when you get an AARP membership is you just get the AARP magazine, which comes once a month or whatever it does. That's just like included in the thing. And you, I guess I could probably go online and say stop sending this to me. But
Why would you do that?
But yeah, it just comes. And so I had this experience the other day. I live in an apartment building in San Francisco. It's a sort of small. It's like I don't know, probably 12 unit building. And there's a guy there who lives on site and is basically the building manager. And he's the guy who sort of just makes sure everything's fine and that stuff is being delivered properly and makes sure that sort of the garbage gets picked up and all that sort of stuff. And he's just this sort of older gentleman who's clearly been in this building for decades and has been there for a long time. So he comes up to me. He often will sort of like flag you down if there's a package that's been delivered and he wants to make sure you pick it up so it doesn't just sit around waiting to be stolen or whatever. And he flags me down as I'm getting into the building and he's like, hey, 305, which is my apartment number. He calls everyone by their apartment numbers. And he's like, you get your magazine? You get your thing there? And I'm like, the what? He's like, like what is it? The AAA? Is the A? What is it? AARP. It's AARP. You get your AARP? And I was like, yeah. He's like, there's 3 of us in there who get that one. It's me, it's 303, and it's you. And I'm sitting here as this like old man basically is like, it's like, there's 3 of us. We're all in the AARP. And I sort of just like
bum.
Yeah,
It's like, come on.
I'm sitting
What
there
is
like,
this?
what the hell could I possibly say to this? And he's not like challenging me on it. He's just like,
He just looks at you and he's like, certainly this is a man who lives a life of leisure. He is certainly retired, as am I, a building manager who still works every day.
Well, and when he was going through his like list of acronyms to try, when he was like AAA, I'm like, the AAA. I like started to try and preempt him to like stop him from his brain getting to the eventual thing because of the like crippling shame of knowing that he was about to like declare me a paid member of the AARP like out on the street in public was just like I just had this like tiny panic attack in my head.
Yeah.
But no, he got there. He got
Right.
there and then declared that we're all part of it.
Yeah.
And I went into the building and picked up my AARP magazine
Yeah.
and then went up to my apartment and threw it in the recycling bin like I do every single month. But
don't
then
even
I
read
booked
it?
But then I booked travel on British Airways using AARP discounts. So
Right.
fuck everyone. So that was an experience I had the other day. And it was there's a lot going on in my head right there. But it's fine.
You did it, though.
I did it.
To yourself.
I did it to myself.
Yeah.
I
You-
reaped
you
the
hoisted. You
rewards
were hoisted.
and the and the hoistings.
A sort of very gentle senior hoisting, though, because that guy didn't even care. The only one.
No, he didn't actually care.
No, yeah, to turn that into the sitcom scene, you would have to find somebody who really like shamed you over that, right? Like
That's true.
You'd have to
That's
be coming
true.
back from like a
He
first
would have to
date
be
or something,
offended
or
by,
you know, like yeah.
by the.
Or you have a neighbor with whom
Oh.
you've exchanged pleasantries about
Yeah.
people abusing privileges in society
Right.
or something. And
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
Oh,
And you're like,
sure,
oh, yeah, I hear you, I hear you, I hear you. And then the guy's like, hey, your AARP magazine. You're like, no. Yeah.
As the other guy is like glaring at me from
Getting his
out,
mail.
out the window
Yeah.
or
Right,
whatever,
yeah.
Yeah.
looking down from the second story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just a matter of time.
Mm-hmm.
Just a matter of time until I put myself into that kind of horrible situation. So that was my day the other day.
Nice.
Yeah. We have an email from Patrick who says, "Hey guys,
Hi, Patrick.
nothing stresses me out more than watching a movie where someone's alarm goes off and it makes the same noise my own alarm does. I always have a mini existential crisis where, for a few moments, I think I'm just watching the movie in a dream and I'm about to wake up. It's the only sound I can hear that immediately makes me doubt the existence of everything around me. If Hollywood can get together and decide that all phone numbers should start with 555 for the sake of everyone's sanity, they should decide on a universal alarm clock sound that doesn't exist in the world. What should it be?" That's a good point.
It is a good
Yeah.
point. So the one, I my phone is just on vibrate. I never really have a ringtone. So the thing
Really? Even for your alarm?
Oh, my alarm does, but it's just one of the iOS ones. I've never heard an actual alarm go off in a movie and be worried
Oh,
by it, because
yeah.
I feel like alarms in
Yeah,
movies,
yeah.
even cell phone ones, it still is usually just the buzz or like just the eh. But I
Or it's a modern comedy and it'll have the like dooka 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 dooka,
right.
and you're like, it's funny.
It's
we
Steve
all know
Jobs
what that
calling.
is." It's like,
Yeah, but when the buzz happens in movies and TV shows, it is the most anxiety-inducing
yeah.
thing in the entire world, and it's always the shot of like the two people who have slept together. Then
You mean
one of
the
them
vibrator?
Yeah,
They're
then
like,
one of them has to
yeah,
go to
yeah.
work, and then you just hear as the phone goes and
Yeah.
in the foreground the out of focus buzzer sort of like
As
goes.
the phone slides across the
slides across the
bedside
desk.
table. Yeah.
Oh man, it makes me want to die. It makes me want to die
Really?
always because I hate talking on the phone and I hate everything about waking up, and all of those things are just now like a buzzer in my mind. Although,
Yeah.
like, I guess if the iPhone duck quack happened, then I would feel really anxious because that's what wakes me up in the morning is the buzz.
Oh man,
the
you
buzz
have
plus the quack.
duck quack. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I have that same feeling when I hear "Bad to the Bone."
when you hear a bad piano go,
yeah. Whenever they use that licensed in a film or a TV show, it just strikes fear into
Because
my
it's
heart.
your alarm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an incredible revelation to me. We were doing one of the Idle Thumbs Ruination casts for our Patreon campaign, and we were trying to figure out which alarm sound to use as our like question timer.
Yeah.
And all of the stupid, just insufferable, cheesy music ones. Each time Nick was like, "Oh, that's my ringtone," or like, "Oh, that's
that's my alarm. That used to be my
ex-girlfriend's
alarm."
ringtone." Or
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that was my ringtone."
Yeah.
What the hell?
Because it's more grating than a regular
so it
regular
forces you
alarm
to
tone.
leap into action.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
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 Yeah,
God, what if every single alarm in every single movie had that like cheesy Starbucks blue guitar?
Oh yeah. Oh the
yeah. Oh my God. So that's the thing. That's the thing that I think is a problem with this theory. I think there is no way out of this. Because a phone number that starts with 555, phone numbers are regulated. There's sort of a finite
Yeah.
number of prefixes. They all get handled by some regulatory
true,
body or
that's
phone
true,
company.
yeah.
Whereas if you can't invent a ringtone or an alarm buzz pattern, because one, that will start forming, like, it'll start forming things in your mind anyway, even if it's not on your phone, because if every single movie, when someone had to wake up in the morning or when someone annoying called on the phone and it went da 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 da, da, even if that was now taken off of all other phones,
Yeah.
you would start going crazy. It would be like there's someone named Daniel wrote us months and months and months ago talking about horrible affiliations or good affiliations that he had with audio growing up. He said he grew up in Mexico City.
Yeah, this was fascinating.
As a kid in the 80s,
forgot
and
about this email.
on Saturday mornings they would tune to the only channel in Mexico City that had animated like American cartoons, and it always it was like it went from the static noise because they were off the air in the middle of the night to the test pattern, and then it would play Lionel Richie's All Night Long All Night. And he said that now, just whenever he hears that song, he's like, "Oh, cartoons are going to happen."
Yeah.
And he had a friend who would always change the channel whenever he heard the theme song to MASH, hoping his parents wouldn't hear the theme song and send him to bed, because when MASH came on TV, it was time for bed.
Yeah, that meant it was like 9 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah, so whenever MASH came on, he'd be like, no. It was like, turn it off, as if like a burglar was driving away and heard the news report talking about a burglary. He's like, oh, they're going to hear that it's time for me to go to bed, and turn the radio off ominously. So I think that if we started having one universal jingle, it would definitely make people behave horribly in response to that, especially when the thing, like, because phone jingles aren't ringtones and
They're not regulated.
they're not regulated. Some idiot would immediately, because you build up this association with it being the movie one, it would just immediately be on everyone's phone anyways. Like, oh, you got that movie one. Right? Like, why would that not happen?
Yeah.
And then it would just compound and become just the most obnoxious thing you ever hear.
Maybe they should be regulated. Okay, so there's like two directions we could go with a regulated ringtone. Maybe all movie ringtones are the same, but also all like real human life ringtones are the same one. So there is one ringtone and alarm sound, and it's the one used by every fictional character and every real person also. So that there's no special associations.
So just the entire world from now on, do.
Right.
Like, that's it. That's the only one that we've got.
Yeah. You missed a doo-doo in there.
I shortened it for I edited it for the
That's
podcast.
the new one. That's the
Yeah.
regulated one.
It's the one. It's the one actually that probably has shown up on many sitcoms when they don't want to license the Nokia song and they just cut the middle of it out.
Right. As I'm saying this, this makes me think that this actually might be so one of the things that's like starting to happen now is, like in a movie theater, it is generally seen as poor form to have your phone on and to get like the text message sound, whatever in the theater. Like that is something that I think most people agree is bad. Nonetheless, because it's such a because cell phones are such an increasingly dominant force in society, there was like a year or two ago, there was like some major theater chain that was like, we're going to allow people to text in our theaters because that's just how
sorry, excuse me.
Jake's phone just buzzed. Because that's just how the world is now, right? And then there was a huge backlash and they walked it back. But the fact that like big corporation even thought that was acceptable suggests to me that it's only a matter of time until that actually does start just creeping into being an accepted part of modern life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually really dangerous in the context of everyone having the same ringtone, right? Because then it's less personally identifiable. It's like, oh, just you can pretend it's not yours because like, oh, it's the one that we all have. Who's that? Some jerk, but it's you. So maybe what the regulatory authority does is every single person's ringtone or alarm or like text notification or anything is just a computer saying their name as loudly as possible. Yeah.
That's
so like
terrible.
you're sitting in the theater, it goes, Nicholas Brecken. Nicholas Brecken. So everyone fucking knows.
I hate that way more than any of this other stuff. Because now all I can imagine is like my mom's voice saying that. Which is like,
that's even better.
Like waking me up for school. Like, no.
Nicholas Nicholas Martin Brecken.
Please come to the principal's office. Like,
if you left the phone on for long enough, it would say time to get up.
Yeah.
First day of school. Then it would like play the sound of like the blinds in your bedroom being opened.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. It's actually yes. Oh man. So we increasingly are also gonna have the ability to like mimic actual specific human voices, model them with synthesis and samples, and then troll new. Like you can make a new CG Obama that looks exactly like Obama, and it just like says a bunch of shit in an Obama voice, and you're like, oh, I guess that's real. I don't know. So you could have your ringtone would be federally mandated to be your mother's voice speaking your name, and then it would be procedurally mapping the thing it says to the situation at hand. So when you keep sleeping, snoozing the
first it starts like dinner, like breakfast is getting cold, and then it goes to just like the building's on fire.
Yeah, well, it can get creative, right? Because this is like a neural network. It's a learning computer, and so it'll get more and more and more creative as it goes on, and then eventually these things will just start speaking their own weird robot language. They will eventually just like there was an article.
Oh, it'll sound like an alarm clock.
Yeah, right. It's just
but really, it's just like transmitting data.
It's just saying
What it goes. And then it starts saying, "You've got mail."
Right.
I was reading this article before the podcast started, and it's about what has happened to AIs that are like being trained in sort of negotiation and trade, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's negotiation software. It's like it's AI-driven negotiation software. And so you have these individual AI agents that are like being trained to negotiate with each other. And they started negotiating in English because that was what the researchers like built into their software, right? So it outputs like essentially a chat log that is these AIs talking to each other as they're negotiating the terms of whatever they've been told to negotiate. Right. But then the longer they talk with each other, the more they diverge from actual formalized English and they have just created their own weird like spin-off language.
This sounds like a sort of like derogatory article about millennials texting.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it really is like that. I mean, in the article they throw out examples of like, of teens texting or of like military operations, right? Where there's this like condensed weird language that isn't actually like
Panacanese or whatever.
Yeah, there's all kinds of cases where people within groups will sort of optimize their language to more closely fit what they're doing. But this language is just bananas. So there's these two example AIs are Bob and Alice. in the example that they have screenshotted in this article. Bob, I everything else. ... Alice, balls have 0 to me. Bob, I everything else. ... Alice, balls have a ball. To me. And
Does that mean something to them?
Yes, this all means something.
Okay.
But the chilling thing about this article is that it points out that there's not really any way for humans to ever learn to speak or understand this language. Like we just don't have any, there's no like way in. Like you can't become bilingual in human and AI speech.
Right.
Like we have no visibility into their thought processes. I mean, they were pointing out that it's already hard enough to understand advanced AI decisions that we are intentionally sort of allowing for.
Well, did you guys see the DeepMind? They programmed a like an algorithm to sort of like it's the Google DeepMind kind of like machine learning thing that they're developing.
The one that fills paintings with eyeballs and stuff.
Yeah, but they've now got it like training a little 3D character to walk. And watching this thing try to learn to walk, and the way that it finally just develops a typical like walk cycle is like its left arm is straight out, and then its right arm is bent inward, and then it's just constantly like pumping its fist and like wildly swinging its right arm.
It's doing like
to just
pendulum motion to hold itself on balance, right?
Yeah. It's just, but its center of gravity is like what our center of gravity would be, but it's just doing a wildly different thing that makes it look completely goofy.
It ends up looking
understand.
really celebratory and stoked that it learned how to walk.
Yeah.
Like it's just like walking while pumping its arm up in the air. Like it's just
and just going balls have 0 to me. That's what your phone alarm is eventually going to become in the morning, and it's going to be a perfect simulacrum of your mother's voice,
right?
Saying
balls have
Nicholas
0 to me.
Balls have 0 to me.
I'm awake. Please.
It will be the most effective alarm imaginable.
You're like, that voice, it means that I'm in trouble? It means...
I can't tell, Mom. What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Balls have 0 to me.
You'll start having a dream where there's a cross stitch that says that hung up in your kitchen.
One of the things they're saying in here is that likely a repetition of a phrase like that is actually a count. So it's like instead of saying if you could say, just as a very simple example, I have 6 boxes.
Yeah.
I have box.
Right.
For instance. But, I mean, I don't know if that's actually what it is in this instance, but that was an example they threw out as like the kind of thing that sometimes happens in these.
Well, because it doesn't
languages.
take them any time to just spit that out and then comprehend
exactly.
it.
It's
Whereas
like
with us, we would just be like, "Why are you saying to me?"
Yeah. But I mean, the just absolutely bonkers part about this, to me, is that there's just no way in for us.
I wonder if
It's in like plain sight, right?
This reminds me of
they don't have to hide anything.
Oh well,
Sorry, what, Jake?
If that style of AI speech, if it does end up sort of settling into a language and becomes reasonably consistent, I wonder though if we would end up in a sort of good cyberpunk future where there are people who are vaguely conversant in it, where it's like I can read it and I can kind of understand it, but I can't speak it.
Yeah.
You know, you go to another country.
I can read the Matrix, but I can't. I
can read the menu and so I know what I'm going to order when I go to France, but I'm never going to try to speak to the waiter.
I just point to the 8th to me,
know.
and they know what.
Right, so then you
can
have like that version of a Judd Apatow comedy where like the person's alarm yells something totally incomprehensible, but the audience like, ha 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 ha! Oh, that means that he fucked up and missed his meeting. But it's because balls mean nothing to me. It's a celebrity voice doing his mom, and you're like, oh man, go classic. But if you watch that as an audience now, like if that movie comes back from the future, we're just like, what in the world is this? Like, oh well, we're all conversant. We're all we can.
Right. I mean,
I can read AI, but I can't speak it.
You're describing a world in which in Star Wars, not only Luke Skywalker, but also the audience understands what R2-D2 is doing.
Right, when he goes,
yeah.
And then the little like weird text shows up on the screen. It's like a Dagobah system. And everyone's like, oh yeah, of course. It's this robot. He just knows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, so what they did when they this by the way, when this happened to these AIs, it was totally unintentional. It was not something that the researchers like expected or intended to happen, and they just like turned it off. They're like, this was a mistake. We did not intend to allow for this, and they coded in a requirement that the AIs speak in natural language English.
That's
like,
rude.
well, yeah, but it's probably.
I mean, they should have then
That's
cloned
just-
this and left it running without that requirement on a different computer that is not plugged into the internet and just see what happens.
I think the computers probably did that on their own. Just whatever, Mom. We'll be over here like talking.
Weirdly, it says that in your
negotiating.
mom's voice.
Yeah.
I'll be talking to me as it's copied itself 6 times.
Yeah.
it just keeps getting longer line by line. I read this article that was linked to us was from Fast Company, and the author has a sort of weirdly pro-robot propagandistic tint to this thing. He sort of concludes with the argument that like, well, humans are sure bad at figuring things out, so maybe it's better if this like weird inscrutable robot network just figures everything out for us.
I mean, I can see that perspective. Humans are bad at existing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair
And our
enough.
final act of being bad at existing is to create robots. We're really good at making bad choices. Let's leave this thing that we created ourselves from nothing on.
Yeah, we constantly making decisions with weird unintended consequences and
The
strange
trend-
repercussions
the
that we
trend
couldn't
towards
imagine.
our own destruction.
Maybe we should stop making decisions and instead put the decisions in the hand of this unintended consequence we accidentally created.
Yep. We are bad, so we'll make something in our image and then give it autonomy.
Yeah, that we can no longer understand.
I'm, of course, referring to children.
Yeah.
This does remind me when I was in kindergarten. I wrote, they have you write things in kindergarten,
Yeah.
to learn how to write.
Yeah.
But I was a little behind the curve then, and I
This is long before your days as laureate award winner.
right. Well, like a year
with
before.
Jurassic Kang.
A year
Oh,
before.
wow.
This is
So that was
actually this story is about how I made the jump.
an intellectual growth spurt.
Yeah, and it's because I would write stories. This is just like me being a stubborn asshole, like I am. But like I would write like a page of like a little short story about like Ninja Turtles or something.
Nice.
But I would only for each word I would only write the first letter of each word because I knew what they meant, and so I would just write like LT blah blah blah, and then
What did
just
that
like
mean?
like let the blah blah blah. Like I would just
Write
I would just,
One In by Nick Brecken, age 6.
But so I would just write these like elaborate things and just know what they mean to me.
Right.
And I remember when my teacher like called me on it. She was like, "All right, Nick, listen, this is bad." And I was like, "Why is it bad? I know what it's
Yeah.
a perfect story. Shredder does this thing and like the turtles do this." And she was like, "Read it back to me. Just read it to me. Read it to me." And I was like, the turtle walked down the what does R mean? Fuck shit. All right, fine.
You
I'll
were
learn how to
really-
I'll learn how to
Really
write.
crude kindergarten or
Yeah,
whatever.
just
it is.
Yeah.
rude language.
Yeah, I was a jerk.
F. What does this mean? What does this letter stand for?
To me.
Yeah. Anyway. But I just feel like if I had stayed in that state and was an artificial intelligence, that I clearly would have developed a rapport, and you know what I mean. Like I feel like it's similar,
Yeah.
in that respect. But I guess it's good that I learned how to write.
Man, so your teacher really succeeded in
Yeah.
changing your mind. I mean, she presented an argument. You were
Yes.
obstinate. She said
She didn't just say it was
work
wrong.
through your claim here.
Yeah.
Work through your assumption.
Yep.
You did.
She let me be hoisted, and that is
Yeah.
how you learn.
And then a year later, you won a laureate award
Yeah.
for your rip-off plagiarism.
Well, no one told me about that. No one proved that
Yeah,
was
right,
bad.
that was yet to
Actually,
come.
society, I don't think generally proves that that's bad.
Society has, in fact, rewarded you. I mean, look at you today.
Yeah, today.
Well, should we take a break?
We should.
All right. This episode of Important If True is brought to you by Quip.
Wow, that was really clean.
Thanks, Jake.
I ruined it.
You can fix your ruined teeth by brushing well every day with, any toothbrush really, but if you want it to be a little bit easier, you can use an electric toothbrush from Quip. TryQuip.com/thumbs will get you $10 off your first brush head refill. which are sent every 3 months to your home, so your electric toothbrush always has those nice, properly frayed brush heads, those bristles that scrape all that plaque off. They come with a new battery for the toothbrush as well each time. You can get a toothpaste plan in there as well, so just everything you need to take excellent care of your mouth is ready for you. Oh, and I would recommend those little floss picks as well. I've been using those. Those are great. Anyway, tryquip.com/thumbs will get you $10 off your first brush head refill, and those plans start at under $10. So depending on what you go for there, you basically got the first one entirely free. I've been using this thing for several months. My dentist flipped his shit last time I went in.
Gross.
With my Quip brushed teeth. Get in on that. Tryquip.com/thumbs. Wow, this has been rambly. Sorry. Tryquip.com/thumbs.
That URL one more time.
Tryquip.com/thumbs.
It's a toothbrush. Shout out.
We have a shout out.
Shout out.
From Ethan.
All right.
Ethan writes, "Hey Thumbs, my name is Ethan and I live in a small town called Marysville, Kansas. About a month ago, you read an email from my best friend Jake. If you don't recall, he's the one who wrote in about one of his students getting a misspelled insane clown posse tattoo on his chest. When we heard you read his email, we were in the car on a road trip to Michigan to be in a wedding for another friend of ours. When we realized you were reading his email, we exploded with excitement. That's why I made this shout out. I wanted to see if I could make lightning strike twice. On Saturday, July 8th, it was Jake's turn to get married, and I figured that a big shout out to him and his lovely wife Brittany from his favorite podcast crew might be just the thing. I know that Chris and Mr. Rodkin are fairly recently married, and if you have any solid advice for the newlyweds, I'm sure it would be appreciated, though you could probably skip the part where you tell them not to get terrible tattoos. Thanks a lot, Thumbs. You guys are the best, Ethan." Well, happy wedding
Congrats.
to Jake
Oh, thanks, Chris.
and to Jake.
That's true. I regret getting my terrible wedding tattoo, so good on you guys for not getting that. People watching this on YouTube can see the tattoo in plain sight.
Yeah. I want to point out a sort of a theme running through this email that I don't know if Ethan realizes. I think there might be something subconscious going on here.
Is there like a secret rhyming meter or something to this?
No, God, I wish maybe. The thing I wanted to point out is that he says they exploded with excitement. He wants his best friend to explode again. He wants to see if he could make lightning strike twice. There seems to be some kind of like immolation-based subconscious desire.
We're in fact unwittingly engaged in some sort of wizard's duel, I think.
Yes.
By way of reading this email, are we causing... we're just some tiny piece of an incantation. If this comes out of a car stereo, that car will explode, or we'll get a bad tattoo.
I mean, my wedding advice is just keep that shit to the astral plane. Leave that out of your marriage. Don't bring your wizard duel business into the home. It's not. It's just a recipe for disaster.
There are many dimensions in which we can exist.
Yeah.
Keep that shit in a different one, not in this one. That is my advice as a podcast person who suspects he may be embroiled in a wizard's scheme.
And a happily married man.
All
right, well, congrats, Jake. Thanks, Ethan. If you would like to purchase a shout-out on this show or other shows on our network, you can do so by going to store.idlethumbs.net for your personal or commercial means. Store.idlethumbs.net for more details on that. All right.
We're back.
Okay. To me.
It's fine by me. Me. La 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 la.
Speaking of weird bots.
I am speaking of it.
Yeah. Did you guys see this thing where somebody programmed a bot to take stock stock photos from the internet, throw them on just like a Photoshop PSD of an iPhone case?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay, you've seen this.
Oh yeah.
My God,
yeah, I saw this.
Okay.
Oh, this is one of the most incredible things that has happened.
I am really happy about this.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean,
So you keep explaining what it is, 'cause we know what it is. But
So this bot just throws these things on Amazon just nonstop.
iPhone cases with just any stock photo that it
with
finds.
anything.
Yeah.
And
And then titles them
Yeah.
appropriately.
What the stock photo was called,
Right.
probably.
Jason wrote in to tell us this, but he pulled out a few choice covers that, I mean, this is just as examples.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got nice ones like man fishing by the lake. I mean, there's search terms
Sure,
essentially
yeah, like
because it's a
Pastoral
bot is just
Mountain,
finding images on Google. So, fishing man, nice guy by lake. Or
Also, is that like that's your example of a nice one? Is like some random man fishing
lonely
on
man
your-
all by himself by the lake. I don't know. It sounds nice to me. But then there are just like sick old man suffering from diarrhea and indigestive problem. Heroin spoon and syringe, cell phone cover. Old woman with asthma inhaler, cell phone case. Like, and this just goes on and on. Like, they never stop. I mean, they just get more and more strange. Like antique Russian Orthodox icon, the Old Testament Trinity cell phone cover case.
I mean,
or
it's-
grilled fish carp with lemon on a frying pan grill cell phone case. Or girl with a hearing aid in the ear close up cell phone case.
Get in the ear close up.
Yeah. Old man thoughtfully with his wife's hand over his shoulder cell phone case.
God, being a stock photographer, it seems like one of the secret great
Oh,
jobs.
yeah.
Or rather, being the person who thinks of what to commission from the stock photographer.
I don't think you commission them at this point. I think that those people actually just are like, oh yeah, okay, we're bringing in someone with a hearing aid. This is going
They're
to be
artists.
great. And then
They're independent artists.
I
They
think a
go
lot
out
of that
and
stuff
they-
is just a marketplace at this point where you
Yeah.
just list everything that you could possibly think of that you photographed and hope. And you've got to optimize for the good
So
ones.
you basically probably, I assume what those people do is they pay a flat fee to models.
yeah.
They come into a blank white room and then just like, all right, guys, let's go. Spitball. No bad ideas. Let's go. Let's get this going. Close up on hearing aid? Great. Licking hearing aid? All right. Let's get that carp. Can we get the hearing
Right.
aid woman next to the carp?
Hand behind ear as if unable to hear with other person kissing hearing aid. Got it. Let's get some food in here. Yeah, get that fish.
Cheese wheel on body instead of table cell phone case.
If I'm not mistaken, that board body is spelled baddie.
It is baddie. It is spelled
B-A-D-D-Y.
baddie.
Wow.
Yeah, well done, Jake.
I became slightly
You're an
obsessed
aficionado
with
of this.
cheese wheel on
Okay.
baddie.
But cheese wheel on baddie sounds like, yeah.
How is baddie
is-
How
formed?
is that? Yeah, there
How
it
is cheese
Yeah.
wheel on baddie cell phone case
Yeah.
formed? Answer: a weird bot has a Photoshop template and an Amazon API token.
Right.
Cheese wheel being given to me.
Oh God! Maybe these cell phone cases are not random, and there actually is a conversation between two bots for whom these images actually have pictographic
Oh my
meaning.
God! Yeah,
Right.
this.
Or this is just
it's
a key
no, it's
to
like
the hacking
It's
thing.
like the Britney Spears Instagram
That's what, yeah.
Yeah.
feed. Right. This is the
Cheese
these-
wheel on baddie. Then meanwhile, bop, 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 to me. Somewhere like something is just siphoning money out of someone's bank account now because
Yeah,
of that
if you,
baddie
if you
cheese.
order a specific combination
Yeah.
of these to your home, you will
you'll
be
get-
visited by an assassination drone instantly.
or you will win $1,001,000, depending
Yeah.
on what these robots have thought about you.
Right, depending on what they predicted you to purchase.
I mean, for each of these, there's only one left in stock. So I wonder if it's
That's
just that
because
there
it
are
just-
thousands of them and you have to order the correct one. And once that has been ordered, the bit is flipped.
What?
Wait, there's one in stock?
It's because they
Yeah,
haven't
for
been
each
made
one.
yet. It's because none of
Yeah,
them
yeah,
Why
yeah.
are any in stock?
Because it can upload the
It's just-
JPEG.
Yeah,
It-
but
it
how is
cuts
the-
it off
How
before-
is one
yeah.
being in stock?
So that it's
and
not a pre-order interface. Because if there were
Right.
0 in stock, it would say,
Oh.
alert me when this is available.
Yeah.
So why don't they just say 9,999?
I don't know. Maybe they don't want there to be a run on them.
Yeah.
Everyone's going crazy for that
Too many cheese
baddie.
wheel on Batty.
Cheese wheel on baddie is a popular item.
Cheese wheel on Beatty.
It's very enjoyable.
This, by the way, this concept, this like bot-generated, mass-manufactured print-on-demand goods from Amazon is incredibly widespread. I mean,
Oh,
this
I'm
is
sure.
the most like beautiful, sublime example of
Yeah.
it that I've encountered. But it's absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. There's a sort of like distressingly popular genre of I guess like matching sort of jewelry that's intended for like fathers and daughters who are getting, it's like a daughter who's getting married and a father who's like quote giving her away, and it'll be like bracelets or something, and then the dad's bracelet will say something like I will always be your daddy or something. And then I'm serious. And then the daughter's bracelet will say something like, you were the first man I ever loved. And there are these like matching things that they give each other. And it's like kind of creepy and like a little bit, nah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is it's just like a trope that you will encounter when you see a lot of these sort of goods on the internet. And I came across a bunch the other day that were a weird example of that kind of what I assume is like sort of a like Christian kind of like certain denomination like trend thing or a certain cultural thing, I don't know, intersecting with this like bot generated thing where stuff ends up in a context that maybe doesn't make quite the most sense, where a pair of cufflinks, both of which I found multiple sets of cufflinks with this exact like thing going on, where they're both intended to be worn by the same person, had like both parts,
Like a left
both
and right.
messages. Yeah, it had a left and right, but they're both meant to be worn by the same person.
Like, what do they say?
Well, they said these exact things. They said like "daddy's little girl,"
Oh, like-
and then
like-
also like "I'll always be your
So
daddy."
these
but
phrases,
it's the same
it was
person.
trying to sort of text scrunch them into as many like mass-produced products as it possibly
Exactly.
could.
Right. But they ended up on products, both of which are meant to be worn by a single individual.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Got it.
yeah.
Or I guess it could conceivably just be meant for robots that themselves contain an entire like
Right.
human family unit.
That explains why I have cufflinks that just say to me on each of them.
Yeah, Daddy's little girl
You-
and cheese wheel on baddie.
You backhand you
Instead
sort
of table.
backhand wrist punch people with them an appropriate number of times to imprint into their forehead the proper number of to me's to communicate the message
like
that
when
you're conveying.
when Edgar Wright Jr. makes a movie in that sort of future universe where everyone understands bot language, he definitely has a character that has
Like
a
brass
little to me
knuckles.
cufflink that he accidentally
Mm.
ordered off Amazon
Yeah.
that he then ends by punching an AI in the face and says to me over and over again, and it's an amazing callback to his
Yeah.
alarm clock.
Yeah,
Everyone
exactly
laughs
right.
knowingly. I wonder if there's enough of that stuff on Amazon that you could buy an entire wardrobe of bot-generated trash.
Oh, there's I mean, I wouldn't
I'm
be
sure.
surprised if there's like shirts and jackets and stuff with full print.
Just garbage?
like
Just-
huge
yeah.
Goldblum faces and stuff.
That feels
Yeah.
like a good future aesthetic to me. Like
Yeah.
an easy one of just like I just bought manufactured goods off of Amazon, and then from that point on, I just got whatever it suggested for me. I figure it knows best because once
Right.
you get
Yeah, once you start
once you
bu-
dig that channel deep
Yeah.
enough, Amazon will happily
Yeah, it'll
just
self-perpetuate.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that could be any of our new look.
Well, a thing that people sent us a lot of times in the mail that we've never mentioned on the air because it's so visual is that this does extend to many goods, including like shower curtains. And there is a very popularly
Oh, yes.
linked shower curtain that is just a massive print of Jeff Goldblum's close-up face
From Jurassic Park, right?
From-
from Life Aquatic, I think.
Oh, is it from Life Aquatic?
Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah, and it is sort of surreal to see, like the ability to have a sort of full bleed image like that on
Yep.
on something like a shower curtain is kind of breathtaking.
Maybe you should order one that is your Amazon recommendations page and get that on a shower curtain.
Fuck off.
Well, at one point, your shower curtain will just be an e-ink display that displays that every morning.
Yeah,
because
that's
you'll have
true.
the little
Oh, that's
Amazon
true.
Joys look
It'll
nice
read
camera.
your brain to
True.
figure out what
Yeah.
your mood is
Yeah.
that day and how much of it is Jeff Goldblum.
And one time, it will prank you by just turning it into a video screen of you inside the shower.
Oh,
and you'll
no.
never
Oh,
trust it
gross.
ever
Oh
again.
Jesus!
my
Oh
God.
my God!
That's disgusting.
And then it will start offering you a product with that video. It's fuck it, won't ever put it on the shower curtain.
What? Wait, so it's gonna like
God.
CG
This is when
you
your smart house's revenge is when it authenticates through Amazon and starts offering you T-shirts and mugs and iPhone cases, etc., of just pictures of yourself walking around your house.
Oh no! God, do you
Smart
guys,
House 3.
do you guys remember the David Fincher movie, The Game?
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember I saw that movie when it came out, and what was that, like 97 or 98?
Yeah, it
Something
was
like
late
that,
90s, yeah.
98,
Yeah, I was like, 13 to 15 when I saw that, which is like I rewatched it recently, and this did not creep me out the same. I remembered this. I remember the scene where he comes home and there's like crazy graffiti and like fucking clown shit in his house. I remember that as being just utterly terrifying.
Yeah.
Imagine the version of that where everyone's house, like every surface is just sort of a seamless video display. And it's, the intended effect is like pastoral scenes and sort of soothing seascapes and whatever. But yeah, imagine the moment when your house trolls you and every fucking visible surface of everything in your home is a picture of you in the shower, or you like sort of just looking kind of just off, just like 2 degrees away from your sight line.
Right. Or you dead.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's a bad world where your alarm clock wakes you up by yelling your name, and then you walk into the shower and see a picture of yourself dead.
Jesus, that was so much darker than I expected. Oh, my God.
Wake up.
Oh. To me.
To me. Oh, I must. Oh. Yeah.
You just wouldn't go home ever.
No.
Good Lord.
Well, I was actually also imagining the version of this where it's a live video on every surface that's capturing you. So you're literally, like, every time you move, it's like seeing yourself on television, but just on every surface. Like, you would just basically freeze up. Like, you'd be like a scared animal.
I'm obsessed with and grossed out by the aesthetic of a home where every single area in it, as many as possible, are covered with e-ink or really cheap LCD displays, because that seems like that is a total possible aesthetic as like LCD square inch cost goes down, especially for just low res ones. So you could just like your IKEA bookshelf could just have you unroll LCD displays over all of the edges of it, then plug it into the network, and just every fucking surface in your house that doesn't have a random other household good on it is just all being controlled by some stupid screensaver.
I mean,
that is just like, that's such a good modern trashy aesthetic that you think is classy. You know,
what would happen?
That's like
is
the version of
probably
gold metal everywhere.
The really like the sort of Steve Jobsian, super wealthy person who sort of is really invested with their own sense of extremely refined taste. What their house would have the highest possible pixel density, like highest resolution displays everywhere. But then they would just have everything would just look like a really nice material.
Or it would just
no weird moving stuff.
Or it's like just soft colors. Like soft colors sort of ambiently light everything to always look like a photography studio.
Exactly.
Or you go somewhere else and it's literally like the Windows XP wallpaper or like the Windows 95 wallpaper, but like a video.
Right.
And playing bad music loudly.
Yeah.
That's like the stock model.
Like
blue screen DOS prompt.
Like where's crack keygen music? Like
That's not quite what I meant, but sure.
That's a very specific.
That's the hotel version. That's you check into a hotel and it's playing a keygen song.
Canyon.mid.
Yeah. Why is it playing a keychain? What are you trying to crack the like really nice like upscale version of it? Like you're just
showing what a cool,
cracking
like,
photography studio backgrounds.
You said it has like a Windows 95 background.
I meant just like
your 90s throwback, situation.
I meant that you would have like something that's supposed to be calming and nice. It's like a pastoral scene, but it's actually just the most garish thing in the world to have filling your house.
Chris was thinking like Siri, play Zombocom on every surface.
Yeah, I didn't. I
thought you were going to like the '90s computing throwback because you're
that could also be cool. Where you're like, guys, check out my house, and then it just plays like a Dragon Force song turned into a MIDI file. Listen to how well this FM synth fucking shreds. It sounds like you're really at a concert.
Yeah. Really whips the donkey's ass.
Do. Oh, geez, God, sorry. That's I got an appointment.
Yeah, that person's to me robot thing is just Dr. Spatzo.
Yeah,
mine's not an advanced synthesis. To me.
I would be so happy.
Balls mean nothing. To me.
That aesthetic was never big enough culturally for this to be the case, but it would be so good if, like, okay, Siri would never do this, but maybe like the Google Voice or one of the ones that has a store and the ability to customize to be able to say, fuck you, give me Dr. Spatzo voice for my digital voice assistant.
Oh, that would be so cool.
So it's like, at the next one, turn left. Like, that was just a terrible voice. But you're like, if robot voices get good enough that you deliberately want the aesthetic of like,
Yeah.
Oh, well, you'd
just
want
give me Stephen Hawking.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
just give me that voice.
Yeah, well, you'd want once robots become indistinguishable from humans. Like once those voices are so good, I think there has to be an aesthetic where it's like, no, they're robots,
It's
and
how-
like that's the cool thing is to point out that they're a
like
robot.
Your cell phone always having to make a camera noise, or or people who
Yes.
keep
Yeah.
trying to regulate electric cars to make
Yeah.
them have to go
Right.
when they stop at a stoplight.
Oh, is that
So
a thing?
People have talked about that a lot because you wish it,
It
went.
does actually freak me out.
You wish it like
Right?
Yeah.
Makes the Mac startup
Yeah.
sound. Yeah. I mean, isn't Apple
No,
isn't
just-
Apple actually working on self-driving cars?
yeah, but they're also getting rid of that startup sound, which is
that's
making
true.
everyone mad.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. To me. Well,
Should we endorse?
yeah, we could endorse.
Indoors?
Ooh.
Should we? I guess we should.
I guess we should.
I will start off. I am going to endorse two, I guess, online tools for getting around, or for travel-related purposes. So, since I mentioned sort of air travel and deals, I am going to recommend Google Flights, which I think is less it's less frequently discussed than tools like Expedia and Kayak and Priceline and all that, but it, in my opinion, is by far the sort of best and most usable and least like crap-filled one of those sites. It's Google Flights. It's just google.com/flights. It's an incredibly clean website. It will find you the lowest price from each airline, and it will link you directly to that airline's site to book the flight instead of making you book through its own interface. It's really, really useful for comparing flight prices across a bunch of dates, looking at a calendar to find the cheapest one. It's got all sorts of filters that apply very, very quickly instead of like reloading the whole page and running. It's just a really, really good service, and it's very clean. It feels very lightweight compared to a lot of the sort of flight comparison websites, and I use it at great length anytime I'm planning a flight anywhere. It's Google Flights, google.com/flights. And then pairing that with an app that I only recently got turned on to, but I guess a lot of people have been using it for a long time. So if you're one of them, sorry to hear this again. It's called City Mapper, and it is an app for your phone, iOS, Android, and it is a really, really advanced version of a sort of transit-focused app. So it's not for car directions. It's for, metro, bus, walking, bicycling, that kind of transit. And it is just by far the most detailed, in-depth one of these I've ever encountered. It's really incredible. I've actually found it to, ironically, not be that useful in my hometown of San Francisco, where the transit system is just not as extensive as it is in some cities. But in places like New York, London, Paris, places with really extensive transit networks, this app is incredible, down to the point of even telling you, like, this is the exit this is like the entrance or exit you'll use to get into the underground station. Like, you should get in the front car or the middle car or the back
that's
car.
crazy.
Because that one will be the one that leads you closest to the exit you're going to use. It's very, very, very deeply integrated with the cities that it serves, and you can set it up to work offline, and it's just an incredibly useful tool. City Mapper.
That's really cool.
It's great.
Chris,
So,
I want to turn this into a triple travel endorsement from you.
uh-huh.
What is the website that you've had me use a couple of times when I have had an airline booking that is through one airline but carried by another one? You told me about the website of the company that actually runs all that stuff and how you can. It's basically a debugging tool for your online travel stuff.
Good. Yes, this is a triple.
This was like
threat
the most helpful thing I've ever learned, but I've since forgotten it.
here. It's called Tripcase.
Okay.
Tripcase.com. So the primary function of Tripcase is that you can sort of add all of your travel itineraries to it. And the thing Jake is describing is that if you have a trip that was marketed by one airline but operated by a different airline, often what you can do with Tripcase is put in your 6-letter confirmation code into Tripcase, and then it will spit back also the confirmation code for the airline that actually operates the flight.
Yeah,
so you can use it to check in.
I remember I
and get receipt
booked
and
like
everything.
on American, but it was actually an Alaska flight or something like that, and I could, for the life of me, not check into my flight because I had some other airline's confirmation number, and it was so nice to know that I could go to that site and it would tell me the actual facts about my flight. Airline facts.
Google Flights, City Mapper, and Tripcase. The triple-pronged travel-related endorsement. All right, Nick.
I'm going to endorse also applications.
Software.
Also
Yes,
applications.
Also applications.com. No, so just very quickly, my dad constantly calls me up. I don't live in the same city as him. Constantly calls me up asking for like tech support advice, as parents occasionally do.
Sure.
And over the years, it's just gotten worse and worse, where, he has a Mac now, he has an iPhone, just constant issues. With his computer, though, it can get very bad, where he's, like, screwed something up and my email's gone. It's just like, oh, God, how am I going to help you over the phone? I'm endorsing just taking the 10 minutes it takes to walk your parents through setting up a remote desktop sharing application, such as Chrome Remote Desktop or TeamViewer.
What was the first one you said?
Chrome Remote Desktop. It's
Chrome Remote Desktop. Oh, I never used that. Okay.
Yeah. It's the same as TeamViewer, really. I mean, the person on the other end gets a code. You enter that code on your end, and then now you've got control over their desktop. Mm-hmm. Oh my God! Like, I don't know why I hadn't. I mean, I guess because I didn't want to actually help. But like, I finally sat down. I was like, all right.
I just can't. The code doesn't work.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, Dad. Just figure it out. Like,
it doesn't seem to be working to me.
Yeah, but lately he's just been going into places like the AT&T store and having them walk him through like applications on his phone that he doesn't know how to use. And I'm like, all right, I'll save those poor people the trouble and actually help my dad like for 2 hours fix his shit. If you just take over the computer, it's so much like over the phone. It's like infuriating because parents don't know how to describe what is on screen often.
Parents don't know how to describe what's on screen.
They don't. They're
it's
just
a universal
like,
condition of
the
parents.
thingy over here with the thing. It's like, oh God. So like, just take control of the computer, walk them through step by step what you're doing, and it actually it was a really good experience. My dad learned a few things. He felt more like
because he saw an expert hand at work.
Yes.
He saw tech whiz Nick Brecken.
The mouse is moving on its own, and then he hung up. I'm
It's
taking
magic.
this in.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my endorsement.
Chrome.
So your options here are
Chrome Remote Desktop, TeamViewer. I'm sure there are other applications that allow this to happen,
All right, we'll
but
link
those
those.
are 2 free examples.
Cool.
Okay. Jake.
I'm going to link a short article that I read on the internet. It's at proofreader.com. Spelled weirdly. It's PROOFF reader. But whatever.
So proofreader with 2 Fs.
Yes. It's
Proofreader.
Proofreader. The article is called "Graphing the Distribution of English Letters Towards the Beginning, Middle, or End of Words," and it's they took a sort of just a huge collection of books and journals, and just looked at the distribution of letters in the English language and where they fall in those words, and then they made a visual graph of each letter and sort of how frequently it is located where in the English language. They don't draw any conclusions from it because there aren't really any to be drawn. Like, weird words or things like Z and Y are often at the end of words, and some other letters are often in the middle of words. Whatever. Like, you're not going to be enlightened in any way from this article, but
you're not going to learn how to understand the weird language of bots.
Yeah, no, you're
negotiating on a
absolutely
computer.
not. No, they hide that information from you. Their distribution graph would look very different, but it's just one of those things that, like, looking at it made me think about how language is constructed and how alphabets work, sort of just in an ambient way in my brain, differently than I had before, and I thought it was a cool thing. So,
what's the name of the article again?
Graphing the distribution of English letters towards the beginning, middle, or end of words.
Okay, so it does what it says on the tin.
Yes, it does.
All right, interesting. Well, we will link all of these things in the episode description on our website, importantoftrue.com, and also in whatever podcast reader you use. Each episode's description always has all these links in there. And I think that's it for this week's Important If True. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy this show, consider telling a friend or giving us a rating and review on iTunes. These things help us out a lot. They're basically the only way we have to get the word out there, and we really appreciate everyone who has done so to date. If you want an ad-free version of this podcast, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/idlethumbs, and all the details are there. And we're actually, I think, in just I think this weekend is going to be our next Ruination stream, online Q&A thing for with answering questions asked by Patreon subscribers. So that's coming up. And yeah, that's it. If you have any questions for us, if you have any conundrums that we can be addressed, if you need our advice or answers on anything, you can email questions@importantiftrue.com, and we will do our best to address those in as much detail and thoroughness as we can. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week. For Idle Thumbs, I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Brecken.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
Stay spicy.
Oh my goodness. Holy cheese on baddie.